Welcome to the Orlando Lions Den podcast, your number one Orlando City podcast for the fans, by the fans, for the fans, by the fans. Keeping you in the know on all things Orlando City since 2018.
And just like that, in record time, I have gotten tweets out on the podcast and my personal account to let everyone know that we are live and to come join us. And I got a special guest with me here today. Cleon's got stuff going on. All the other guys are busy with life and things happen. So our boy Adam, also known as Mr. Cappies, also from the Orlando Lions blog, or Lions blog, right? Lions blog? I got to get the name right.
Now on indefinite hiatus, but yes, Lions blog.
Hey, indefinite hiatus or not, you were making Orlando Lions content, and now you're back into the Lions Den. So, Adam, welcome in. How the heck you doing, brother?
Good. I'm just I'm amplifying the post too. I haven't had to amplify a podcast post in a while.
Hey,
all right.
I'm just more impressed that I've be able to do it with speed lately. Like I'm taking pride in that. Speed sometimes impresses people. I don't know.
No, but it's fun. You know, I love you guys, and yeah, it's cool to be talking some Orlando City again with all the wonderful people of our kind of little OC Twitter sphere and beyond. I don't know how much podcasts reach outside of that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think either me or Eddie is going to be on tomorrow with, let me double check the podcast name. I think we're going to be on I think it's called the Ball is Round Montreal podcast to talk with them. So I think we're going to be doing something with them. So shout out to them, but we got some stuff to talk about. We got to talk about Orlando City 0-0 draw here against the Red Bulls. We got to talk about Rodri getting a red card and what that means. Defense looking good. Where's the offense at? And so much more. So before I do that, let me go ahead and get into our sponsors real quick. So speaking of Eddie, I'll kick it off there. For all your insurance needs, QR code is up on the screen if you're watching along. If not, you can reach out to the podcast for any insurance questions, and we will redirect you to Eddie. As we always do, but insurance is important. Home insurance, especially in Florida, is difficult. Car insurance, boat insurance, whatever you need. Pet insurance, I think he's even got you covered with. So Eddie is the man. QR code again on the screen, or DM the podcast if you have any questions. We'll be happy to help you out. Gonna go ahead and continue to shout out our friends at Hourglass Brewing. I don't know if they have any No Mango, No Party left in stock. I'll have to reach out to my boy Juan to find out. Shout out Juan. Love you, dude. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, Hourglass Brewing, No Mango, No Party. Always a fun time to work with them. I'm glad that we got to do it 2 years in a row here. And then last two, but certainly these are not least, Chad McGibbon for realty questions. You're looking to buy a house in Central Florida. Chad McGibbon's got you covered. At Chad McGibbon on Twitter or QR code on the screen. Feel free to DM him with any questions in regards to your home buying experience. And last, but again, certainly not least, is our man Leo Gonzalez with the Epic Mortgage Team powered by U Mortgage. Economy is certainly something right now. So if you're looking to buy a house, own a house, mortgage a house, refinance a mortgage, Leo is going to be your man. 407-844-7696 for Leo Gonzalez, Epic Mortgage Team powered by U Mortgage. So if you guys are out there watching along with us, either on YouTube or on Twitter, feel free to join into the conversation whenever we're talking about something on screen. Feel free to go ahead and write along with us and let us know. And if you're listening on Twitter or listening on Spotify or iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, feel free to leave comments and reviews and let us know how much you love us, because that's really important. It's just self-validating for me. Let's kick things off. 0-0 draw against the Red Bulls. A game that realistically, in the beginning, the first half, it was everything but the goal. Felt like it was an awesome performance. Felt like we deserved to get in the net at least a couple times. Coronel played out of his mind like he tends to do against us. Great performance by their keeper, and unfortunately, we were just not able to find the net. And then in the second half, Rodrigo Schlegel did Rodrigo Schlegel things, picked up a second yellow card by kicking someone in the face, which last I checked, I'm not supposed to do that. And then for like probably about 10, 15 minutes after that, it didn't look like the Red Bulls really asserted the fact that they had a man advantage. But then not too shortly after that, became a little bit more contentious for us, and we squeaked out a draw, 0-0, no goals allowed. But I feel like this is one of those ones, Adam, where you kind of can't help but look at it as anything other than 2 points dropped and kind of a disappointing result. So
I absolutely should have scored in the first half. Ojeda was everywhere. It was, like you said, everything but the goal. Not really sure what much more to add to that. I do have the bot mob page up, and just the momentum. There's no significant red on the momentum tracker until the 65th minute.
Yeah,
it's crazy, and that's 10 minutes after the red card.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, this is one of those ones that it's just it's painful to swallow, man. Like, there's no other way to say it.
It's what Red Bulls do. That's their entire game plan is to, and it didn't help. By no means am I blaming the ref for this loss, although it was a very poorly officiated game. But the way it was officiated played right into Red Bull's hands, in that they were able to be chippy and get away with stuff that most refs would not have let them get away with. I see in the chat, Red Bulls had 0.03 xG before the red card. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't even think they had a shot on goal before the red card. They were not attempting to be progressive at all. They were just trying to muck up the game and hope they could steal a goal on the counter at some point. And it was almost like we've been called soccer terrorists before. That's what soccer terrorism looks like. That's all I got to say about that.
So I got to say, I love that you brought up the soccer terrorism comment. Like, we haven't mentioned that in a while. As you guys know, when Eddie's on the show, he likes to refer to it as suffer ball. Suffer ball, soccer terrorism. He's also bringing out exciting whites this year. We just got so many different quips that are just going to keep going. I was literally, though, I will say, I was rooting for a Duncan Maguire goal so hard in the second half.
He almost pulled it off.
He did.
The last, and was it 92nd or something when he took on like 4 defenders?
It's just one of those scrappy like goals that you kind of just expect the scrappy guy to get in there and get it. But realistically, I mean, I'm going to kind of just jump ahead in what we were going to talk about, and that's mostly just because I got Duncan Disorderly in the chat. Let me bring up his comment real quick. Just, I am so over Schlegel. And I feel like
a common sentiment.
It is a common sentiment. I feel like, and the thing that's so funny is, like, my friend Ty Fisher from Massive Report for Columbus. He also does the Wise Men Say podcast. I did some stuff with them last year or 2 years ago. I don't remember what it was, but when we did I'm in a chat with him and a couple other like MLS podcast people. Mm-hmm. And during like one of our first or second games of the season, he's like, God damn, man, I hate Schlegel so much. And we were just, I guess, the only game that was on. His team wasn't playing it, so he was watching us. And he's just like, God, I can't stand that guy. I'm like, yeah, it's so. Same with like 80% of our fan base, man.
See, here's the thing with Schlegel. Up to that point, the yellow card, he had to take the yellow card. It was a professional tactical foul. I'm not mad at the first yellow. He was playing a great game. He was like, Red Bulls had nothing, absolutely nothing. Then he kicks a dude in the face. Even they didn't give him a straight red for it, even though it could have been a straight red. But it's always going to be a yellow.
So I did hear that because it took a while for a card to be given, and I guess what they had said. Yeah, what they said on the broadcast is that VAR intervened and didn't say that it needed to be reviewed for a red card, but that it was certainly something that should be a second yellow. So, that's the first that I've ever heard that VAR could suggest a second yellow, you know?
It was the right call, so like I'm not too mad at it. But yeah, you're right. I have never heard of that process before.
So the reason why I meant to initially talk about this a little bit later in the show, but while we got people in the chat talking about it and mentioning it, also said we talked about El Gordo and No Bad Luck Bro. It's just Rodri doing what he does. That was in there from before we got started. That was here from earlier today. What do you think? Because I know a lot of us, obviously, we're sour on Rodrigo Schlegel.
Sure.
Other fan bases don't really like him because of the fact that he can sometimes be a mess on the field. I like to say that sometimes when he's running and fouling and stuff like that, he looks like Bambi on ice. His legs are just kind of all over the place.
It's not as bad as he used to be, but he still has those Roddy moments.
He still has those moments. What do you think? Do you think that him getting a red card opens a door for Bracalo, who has been playing better lately and getting more time?
You wanna think yes, right?
I pray yes, and I'm not a religious man usually.
Knowing what we know about Oscar Pereja,
he has his favorites. He does.
If Schlegel was going to get benched over one red card, Angulo would be long gone.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? We all know what the answer is here, and I do think Bracalo has a route to the starting lineup. I think Santos getting benched in favor of Bracalo is something that is actively happening.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if the idea is to find a way to get one of Ramiro Enrique or Duncan McGuire on the pitch in the starting lineup, maybe at the expense of Angulo. Now, I mentioned him as someone who, we're never going to see his ass on the bench. However, he's been getting subbed off lately, and he was like most minutes played last year, I think.
Yeah, he was most minutes played on the team, and I don't think he missed a start last year. I think he was 34 full games started.
Exactly. So that's already a shift from what the previous norm was. We could see a world in which, performance gets rewarded. And at a certain point, if 3 of your 4 starting forwards and, Martin Ojeda, Luis Muriel, Ivan Angulo, and Marco Paslic. I don't know why I said his name is Ivan. Marco Paslic. If 3 of those 4 guys are creating and scoring goals and the other guy just isn't, and you have 2 guys who have both proven to be goal scorers sitting on your bench that could conceivably take a spot in that lineup, you can move Martin Ojeda out left and play Duncan if you'd want to. You could play a 2-2 line with Ojeda and Paslic under Muriel and Duncan if you wanted to. There are ways to get Duncan in there without benching Muriel if you wanted to. Or you could just slot Miro Enrique in at the left wing. I know we're talking about Rodrigo Schlegel, but I think the larger point is we're going to have to see if the goal truly is to win MLS Cup, talent has to win out. If Bracalo comes in and he does an amazing job in our next game against Montreal, which, it's Montreal, so that's not necessarily a super tall task, then I think and he continues to start over Rafa Santos, and then maybe further down in the season where we say, hey, we need a little more down the left side to see if Santos can come back in, or maybe if Belgradon can take a spot there, or who knows. And then we got to go back to playing 2 center backs. I think that there could be an element of competition created. But to say that Rodrigo is going to get benched because of 1 week on a red card, I think that's a little far-fetched.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those ones that it's the only way that I can see it being a long-term thing that happens is just Bracalo comes in and has a stellar performance. I know one thing that we joked about in our chat is in the Manscaped League One chat, respect is shout out Manscaped. I don't know if code Lions Den still works for anything, but if it does, let us know. Does it?
I don't know. I haven't tried it, but I hope it does.
I hope it does too.
Yeah,
exactly. So one of the things that we joked about is as much because Bracalo kind of jumping into this left back spot over Santos is what if we see rather than Bracalo moving into center back, they've just put Kyle Smith there and keep Bracalo at left back, which is something that I cannot tell you how much I do not want to see that.
I considered that. Huh? No, I do think we see Bracalo and then Santos starts because Santos was the starter. You know,
he was exactly.
He's got to be next up.
Exactly. Santos take this opportunity. Bracalo take this opportunity because realistically, it's an opportunity for both of them to cement themselves into something that like you need to put your name in ink. Poppy should be starting you because realistically, I like Bracalo playing at left back because he's strong defensively, but he takes us away from us in attack. One thing you also like notice is if Bracalo's playing at left back instead of Santos, there's just nothing on the left side of the field. Because Angulo, as Duncan Disorderly said here, Angulo has been awful this season so far. We've been piling on him a lot. So not trying to necessarily
does drift left most of the time.
He does, but realistically, there's not that Santos Angulo overlap that at least creates confusion. They use their speed, good crosses, possibility of that. It's just there's nothing. So if you take Santos out of that, if you put Kyle at left back, Bracalo at left back, it doesn't really give us much of an option. I will say, shout out to here Reed Brown with OCB, scored a goal earlier today.
The future.
Unfortunately, they just lost, but he's the guy that I'm hoping is the next Alex Freeman that steps up.
He's very, very, very highly touted.
Yeah, and he also very much is similarly built. Like these are guys that don't look like they are fullbacks, but they are just so athletically gifted.
Yeah.
So shout out to here Reed Brown. Maybe we'll get to see some more of him in the future.
I hope so. So speaking of him and Alex Freeman, I was talking to Gavin earlier, and we were just kind of musing on Alex Freeman, and he is the answer to what if our best athletes played soccer. We got a 6'3" freak athlete playing right back.
Yeah.
And his first year starting at any real professional level is like 90th plus percentile in every offensive stat.
Yeah. It's not even that. Like, hold on. I don't know if I'm going to be able to like share it immediately. I'm going to bring up his FP ref stats real quick. So
they are bonkers.
I just want everyone to know, like real quick, if I read off what his percentile against fullbacks is, because they list all the percentiles on here. So
I know most of them are 98th or 99th.
So this is all his attacking stats. Non-penalty goals, 99th percentile. Non-penalty expected goals, 99th percentile. Shots total, 91st percentile. Assists, 96th percentile. Expected assists, 96th percentile. Non-penalty expected goals plus non-penalty expected assists, 98th percentile. Shot creating actions, 91st percentile.
But how is he as a penalty taker?
On top of that, blocks 97th percentile, clearances 98th percentile, aerials 1, which is one of the weakest points of our back line, 94th percentile.
Helps that he's a 6'3" freak athlete.
Yeah. And also I will say just the similar players that get brought up here next to him on here. Let's see, we have Junior Firpo, who plays for Leeds United and I believe was a former Barcelona product. We have some people from, Botafogo, Sheffield United, a lot of like Luca Oriano. All those guys end up being the people to like kind of compare him to. So I know last week, I think me, Cleon, and Eddie, I think it was me, Cleon, and Eddie, or it was me, Cleon, and Alex. I don't remember who the group was, but I think it was Eddie. We basically went on a glazing session for how good Alex Freeman's been and how good some of it's one of those things. Like I'm not trying to make this the Alex Freeman episode part 2, but it's one of those things that he's just been it's been unreal. And I'm happy to see that at least this week Atuesta got on the field. So hopefully Atuesta's back because I feel like that's one of the big things that we were missing.
Cesar is on the bench too, so he should start as well.
So yeah, we have to hope that in Montreal, Cesar and Atuesta are back. Still have to give a shout out to Gerbet because he has been so much better than I think anyone's expectations really would have been. And also have to give a shout out to Dagger because I know the first week that he got thrown in midfield, we were all kind of a little bit down on the performance because it's just one of those things that it's realizing he is not Atuesta, which is okay. Hard shoes to fill. But I think he
looked so well against Red Bulls.
At least for the first 45 minutes before, things went sideways. I think he because it was one of those things. We all know how much we love the MLS and their injury reporting. We didn't find out until, was it Saturday morning that maybe it was Friday night? I don't remember, but I think it was at least Saturday morning. We didn't find out until the lineup came out that Atuesta and Araujo were out. Like
I think it was same day.
Yeah. I think it was when the lineup came out. It was just all of us looking like, oh my god, neither of them are even on the bench. Like,
And then it was just like, oh, did they die? No, it's just like, both of them had like some tightness, and we're like, okay, what does that mean? Why can't they play? How long are they going to be tight? Turns out a week.
Yeah, we'll find out. But I want to bring up Duncan again. Bricalo has made sense at left back with the two DCMs not starting, but the last two but I think we need Santos attacking prowess against Montreal. That's my thing. Montreal has been, we try not to curse on this show, but for lack of a better term, Montreal has been a six-pack ass, man. They are not a good team. They have been very bad. Again, sorry, the Ball is Round podcast. I don't mean to be mad about your guys' team that you cover. You guys have not been good. It's one of those teams where, especially if at least Atuesta or Araujo are back, I think that you need to go full tilt. So Santos in.
Yeah.
But my only thing is, perfect world, I'd like to see Enrique starting over Angulo, just because Angulo has been rough. So
I think this is I agree with you. This will be the game where you try out a new thing or two, especially since we're almost certainly going to have Atuesta back. Hopefully Cesar too. And especially since then you don't need to rely on the back line so much to provide that forward ball progression and the fullbacks provide forward ball progression and chance creation, because you'll have Atuesta back, who has been one of the better, if not one of the best midfielders at that so far this season.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of slot Enrique in there if you wanted to against a weaker opponent that you kind of expect to win, and see how that works, see how comfortable he looks, see if he's going to transition back to winger, because he's not playing striker this season, most likely.
Yeah.
I absolutely would do that. Again, skeptical that we will almost no chance that we see that, but I'd like to.
I mean, I just because of the fact that you said, we're playing a weaker team that we should be beating. I feel like you could make an argument that this should be the audition game for Bricalo as the other center back, Santos to take back left back, maybe Enrique to take over left wing or something like that. This could be the audition game, but I will go ahead and say again, especially a road game, nothing in MLS is guaranteed, because our league is weird as hell. So
that's true.
I did bring up Colin's point. Again, Colin, thank you so much for having the most cursed image as your profile picture on YouTube.
That is one of my favorite game day posters of all time,
because it's so terrible. Like, who? I like,
do we know the artist that designed that?
I'm sure we could dig back and find it.
Can I go just show up in their studio and shake their hand? Thank you for providing so much entertainment in the group chat.
Yeah. Oh God, it's a bad one. But he said, I'm high on Freeman, but more interested to see what his stats look like at the end of the season. So I think it is important, like I said, we've been glazing, we've been proud of him. He's been doing amazing work. It is important to say that, he is still a kid. He's probably going to make some mistakes. But right now, enjoy the highs. And be supportive in him through the lows. I think he's going to be a great player. At this point, if he can keep this kind of stats throughout the entirety of the season, there's not going to be a next season in Orlando for him. Someone in Europe is going to swoop him up so fast. If he is finished, he's been the best right back in the league so far. If he's the best right back in the league at the end of the season, for the most part, he will not be here for long. Which I think is very, honestly, I said this on, I think last week, I think if the U.S. men's national team didn't crap the bed in the Nations League, I thought he would have been called up to the Gold Cup team. I don't think he gets an opportunity to do that now because of the fact that they probably have to bring their A team.
He will be on the senior team at some point.
Well, my thought process is, how dynamic and awesome does it sound to have guys like Anthony Robinson at left back and Alex Freeman at right back? I feel like, and I'm not trying to speak too much into the future. Hopefully Serginho Dest recovers and is healthy soon. But so
also Serginho Dest, great player. Alex Freeman is not him yet.
No,
hasn't been all that we thought he would be for the U.S. team.
Yeah. So obviously trying to keep things moving forward because we just kind of keep going off on tangents on this show, which is fine. That's the way that things go.
I'm bringing the Lions blog energy back in. This is basically all that Gavin and I ever did.
It's a stream of consciousness. You just kind of keep talking, and whatever happens, happens.
Gavin would have like a little word stock agenda that we would like hit all of it eventually, and it would take us like an hour and a half.
We try and keep it to an hour, except for like the season preview shows, because those always end up going long. But whatever happens, happens. But Eddie joined in the chat and said, what did he say? Looking forward to going back to scoring goals versus Montreal. I think that's definitely something that's necessary because, again, we got 2 shutouts in a row, which is great. The defense is looking better. Pedro, of all people, looking much, much better. But clear lack of goals in the past 2 games. I will go ahead and blame a little bit of this on the red card because that does change your tactics and how you approach the game. Obviously don't want to be in that situation, but it's one of those things that I know there's a lot of people that are probably going to be worried, we're just going to revert back to Poppy Ball now. My thing is, I think it's more of a product of Atuesta being out for the past 2 games than anything.
I 100% agree.
Because he is just an engine. That's the big difference that it was between Wilder and Cesar versus Cesar and Atuesta is Wilder and Cesar were both more defensive minded. One of the things that we all said when Atuesta came in, he is not a defensive-minded player. He could play a little bit of defense, but that is not what he is known for. He is known for being a great link between the midfield, the defense, the midfield, and the front line. He progresses the ball forward. He carries the ball well. So it's one of those situations I feel like we were kind of all just looking at, that's what we're missing. We're missing that guy that progresses the ball up the field.
Missing that guy basically since Junior Urso was a starter.
And even then Atuesta is significantly better than Urso ever was.
Yes, absolutely. But that was the role Urso played.
Correct. Yeah, I think that's fair. But I when people are wondering where the goals go, I think that realistically, Atuesta out of the lineup is where the goals went. I think
we just got unlucky against Red Bulls. The first half we could have easily had 2 or 3.
I mean, there was. I think he would have ended up being offsides if he scored and went to review. But there was a one from Montreal around I want to say the 15th or 20th minute where he just was boom, slipped in a pass behind the defense, no one there, and it was a great save by Cornell, but it also was not a fantastic shot.
We had 4 shots on goal. Cornell had a great half, great entire game, but great first half against like a league average keeper. Which Cornell is not a league average keeper, but against a league average keeper, we probably scored at least 1.
I think so. Because there was also the Janssen header. If that went anywhere, that wasn't where it went. Yeah, that was a goal. But
we're peppering. We had 9 shots for on target in the first half.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that
should have gone in.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of the law of averages says one of those should be in the net at some point.
What I've also noticed is Pasalic is sitting on that. He has the same in-cut move that Baku had, but he has other moves too. But he uses he'll feint to his right early in the game, and then around like the 30th minute or so, he'll start sitting on that in-cut, and he's trying to recreate that golazo that he had a few weeks ago. But he's going to take 2 or 3 of those games.
I feel like that's an early contender right now for goal of the season.
That was incredible.
We'll see. I mean, we don't need to go back and revisit that. Although we could probably talk about that goal for a while.
Yeah. That's just a pattern of play I've noticed with him. But I think he uses it a little bit more judiciously than Facu did, because Facu, every single time that's what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Pasalic is like picking his head up a little more, and he's not going to pass it a lot, but he'll pass it a little more off of that. Sometimes he'll look for the switch to Ojeda on the other side. I feel like he's just got a little more variety in the moves off of that in cut, which is why I think he's been a better fit within the offense than Facu necessarily was.
I think he has, and we've kind of talked about that too. Is I think what he brings to the game is just a lot Yeah, but he's a similar profile to Facu, but I think he's just more aggressive and proficient in certain areas. Like he takes a lot more shots than Facu did, and that's one thing that even showed in his like stats. Looking at Croatia, like looking at his shots per 90, guy lets it rip.
He's a shot monster.
He lets it rip, and that you're gonna miss shots when you just let it rip as much as he did. But he's so far has been a lot more accurate, a lot more on target. Which is, obviously been great to see. Hopefully it continues to rain goals for him. He's also, you kind of mentioned the feints to the right. He's also taken shots with his right foot too. Like he's not scared the way that it seemed like Facu was at times to utilize his right foot. So when I'm not, as long as Atuesta is back in the lineup, as soon as that happens, I'm really not worried at all about our goal scoring, because two things that I've noticed. One, Pasalic seems like he's kind of allowed to do what he wants, which is good. Let your creative players be creative players. One of the other things I said that was kind of a problem I used to find with Facu and Ojeda and why they didn't work on the field at the same time. A lot of the times they like to try and occupy the same spaces. And that made confusion and stuff in the attack. And sometimes we're stepping on each other's toes. That's not happening this season.
Facu would never go right.
That's not happening this season.
Yeah.
So Pasalic, I think, is going to be fine. Montreal has still been a revelation. I think he should have had probably 2 goals in this game. The fact that he didn't score any was disappointing. So hopefully that doesn't, cause him any issues. I think Duncan is going to be fine too once he gets back into more playing time. He looks hungry and he looks like he wants to be scoring goals.
I really want to see Duncan and Muriel play together.
I think that's something that we could probably see in this game.
I hope so. I hope there's like a planned sub to get that formation on at some point.
Yeah, because realistically, that's a planned sub that usually means Ojeda is coming out, and Muriel is going to drop unless they decide to they pull whoever's playing left wing, probably Angulo, and shift like Ojeda out wide, drop Muriel in, and put Duncan at center forward.
Yes.
I don't love that, and the reason why I say I don't love that is because of how good Ojeda has been in the center of the field. But that's a way that you could still have all of your best attackers realistically on the field at the same time. So
I think it's worth figuring out because I would rather figure it out now and then know if in the playoffs we're chasing a goal, if that's a formation that works, or if that's something that people, you're trying to cram too many primary ball handlers on the field at the same time.
Yeah, because it very well could be too many cooks in the kitchen, there's the possibility that it could just be too many people trying to get in the same areas in the same spots at the same time. So,
exactly.
But it's worth it to experiment and try and see.
Because that has the potential to be like a super, super potent attacking lineup that, no, you don't need to play it every game, but it's nice to have it in your back pocket.
Exactly. All right. Well, that gives us an opportunity to move right along here, I think. So before we start talking about Montreal, because we've talked a lot about the fact that there's a lot of opportunity in this game for a lot of players. Let's go ahead and talk stock up, stock down. You guys in the comments, if you're listening along or watching along with us, feel free to go ahead and give us a stock up, stock down on how you're feeling about this game. Adam, I will let you give us your stock up, stock down first, and your reasons for why you're picking those guys.
So we're doing specifically for a Red Bulls game?
For the Red Bulls game is usually what we're looking at, yeah.
I'm going to go stock up Dagger Dondor also.
Okay.
And I think rightfully so against the Union, he struggled. It showed that he had not played midfield in a while. He obviously lost his spot to Alex Freeman being a revelation at right back. A lot of players would fold. A lot of people would fold in that situation. And a bunch of different fields, not necessarily unique to sports. Dogger, I think, has had a really healthy mindset and saying, hey, I'm going to help the team however I can. My versatility is a strength. And, hey, I'm a pretty damn good midfielder too. And I think he was progressing the ball well. He was carrying it well. He made smart, progressive passes. He was beating defenders one-on-one in midfield. He was in position. That when he had to cover right back when Freeman went up, he's obviously very natural doing that. I think that he showed his worth to the team. And I said in the group chat about him and Kyle Smith. that it would probably take 4 if we were to not have those 2 players on the roster, and neither of them are every week starters at this point. It would take 4 players to replace them. I think he's showing his value to the roster of being able to play well at whatever spot you put him in, given just a little bit of time to get comfortable. I wouldn't even be surprised, say we get a rash of injuries on the front line and he's got to play right wing. I wouldn't be surprised to see him put in a decent shift there. Certainly not an all-star level, but he's going to just work his ass off every single time he's on the pitch. And he's got enough technical skill that he can make it work at most of the positions. So yeah, it's my stock up for Dogger Don. I thought he had a great game, especially before the red card. And it was nice to see him bounce back from what personally is a really difficult situation.
No, I can't really disagree with that, especially considering the fact that we took a look at, what he looked like last week compared to this week. I think it really kind of just highlighted the improvement that showed, and the more comfortable he got with the position just by getting more time to prepare for it.
Mm-hmm.
What about stock down?
Stock down, I think there are 2 easy answers. I'm going to take one of them. Ivan. Man's just been invisible the entire season. He carried the ball well a couple times. He didn't get really beat on defense, but also Red Bulls didn't really do anything on offense. But in a game where the DPs were struggling to put it in the back of the net for whatever reason, it was almost like the DPs kept on trying to force it. And yeah, they're the DPs for a reason. They get paid the most money for a reason. Ivan just doesn't seem to have that, even the opportune timing anymore to be able to pop up with a goal, in a clutch moment where it's like, hey, we're struggling to put it in. We'll help here. He's like, nah, you guys got it, right? It's just pretty much like he's not even taking on defenders anymore that often. I think he took on defenders once amid all of our possession. And that used to be a strength of his, was his speed, getting, as an outlet, getting on the end of long passes, cutting inside and letting someone overlap him. He missed a really good opportunity to try and score. Just the shot was nowhere near the target. It's even from, he's never been a reliable offensive producer, but just the work rate made him an asset. But it seems like that's even starting to tail off a little bit. And I just think in a game where we could have used him coming up clutch, he did not.
So I have a trivia question for you.
Trivia. I like trivia. I'm going to get this wrong.
Over the past 365 days,
okay,
what percentile do you think Ivan Angulo falls into for shots per 90?
Shots per 90? Is it 0?
3rd.
Holy shit.
He is in the. I know. Pardon his French. We try not to curse, but justified.
What you get when you invite me.
Yeah. 3rd percentile.
Holy snickerdoodles.
His shot creating actions per 90 is in the 27th percentile. Non-penalty goals, 33rd percentile. Non-penalty expected goals, 36th percentile. Assists, he's in the 63rd. But that's the highest you'll see out of anything for.
And that's the thing with the assists, like that's his work rate. That's him being in the right position. That's him being a good link in the final third.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's lost that this season.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, we've dogged on him a lot because it hasn't been good enough. And that's why I feel like I don't know what it's going to take for Oscar Pareja to give, to give maybe an Enrique a chance, or maybe if Nico Rodriguez comes out of whatever coma he's in, we'll get to see him at some point.
At this point, I don't know if Nico plays this year.
I mean, he played in the first game, and then he's been injured ever since. We saw him for a couple minutes, and he decided to go ahead and just take like the most ballsy volley that was like a Carlos Rivas-esque shot. It went nowhere close to the net, but like you like to see a 20-year-old kid have confidence like that, which is great.
The reason that I say that is by the time he gets back, he'll have virtually no chemistry with the team. At this point, and you got so many players ahead of him.
He was listed as questionable this week, so maybe we're closer.
Are you playing him over Ramir Enrique? Are you playing him over Duncan McGuire?
Well, I mean, realistically, he would be getting played like he's technically a right winger, so he should be playing. He would be, he's not playing over Pasalic. Pasalic has been too good. He's pretty much written in ink right now. He can play through the center. I don't think that's really his best position, but that's why I'm at the point where left wing has been so poor, like from Angulo. Enrique clearly hasn't done anything in training that is making Oscar Pareja take Angulo off the field. Like, so, I just want to see, we need production out of the left side of the field. That's really all it comes down to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's your logic. I just don't see Nico Rodriguez getting on the field above all the attacking talent that we have, especially given that we've seen players. He's essentially coming in the middle of the season right now. It could take months before Poppy trusts him.
We do know the reluctance of Oscar Pareja sometimes is always clearly evident. So, obviously, Colin saying, I think he's back in training. Like I said, he was listed as questionable last week going into this game. He was not in the, game day squad. Hopefully we're closer to him traveling and being a part of teams. Since this game's in Canada, I don't know if it's going to affect anything because sometimes, world stuff. But, so we'll see what happens.
Put that.
Huh?
It's a very delicate way to put that.
Yeah, I'm really a wordsmith at heart is how I look at it. So I think I gave him a stock up last week, but Jeroen Gerbet, I just got to shout him out for, I think I said it on Den After Dark. What's that?
Unfortunately.
Yeah. I think on Den After Dark.
I reluctantly give him his flowers.
Yeah. I think on Den After Dark, I made the comment of during the end of roster moves last year, we were all kind of like, why the hell are we not picking up the option for Kuchevsky? And then they go and pick up this Gerbet guy. And granted, we thought Kuchevsky showed some promise last year, even though he didn't play that much. Gerbet is a first
teamer when he played. Yeah,
Gerbet is a first teamer and is unfortunately, for Kuchevsky's sake, is leaps and bounds ahead of where Kuchevsky was in my mind. So got to give him his flowers because he's been good.
Have their rights at the same time, or was it just like I get maybe they identified him as like, this is a guy that'll most likely be there when we pick, and we think we got a guy.
I guess so. I don't know. Flowers to the front office, stock up to them for figuring that out.
Sure.
But he's been like, I didn't think that I was going to feel that much confidence in a 27th overall draft pick coming in and starting multiple games this year. But the kid's been good. So
yes. No, he's in position defensively. He's not afraid to get stuck in. He makes the easy pass out, and that's not a bad thing for someone at his age.
Yeah.
He's
tidy is what it is.
Yes, he's tidy. Without much, the veteran experience to know when to take the risk and when to not, he's always going to make the safe play, which if you're the third or fourth option at that position and you're coming in, all you got to do is not lose the game. That's exactly what you want.
Sorry, I think my internet got weird for a second. You there?
Yeah, you got a little frozen.
Yeah, it's all good. I think I'm good now. Looks like it's back.
Yeah.
I was trying to look up Gerbet's stats just to see if there was anything of note to talk about for him, but he's just, like I said, he's been tidy. He's been a good player. I think Bracalo deserves a shout too. He got player of the match in this one for a good performance.
He's very, very solid defensively.
And I'm just going to go ahead because realistically, I agree with Colin here. Stock up Bracalo, stock down Schlegel. Hoping
he was the other one in my head.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, there's
been the other obvious one.
There has been three guys who have been consistently stock downs for us this year. It's been Angulo, it's been Pedro, it's been Schlegel. Pedro, I've said multiple times on shows, whenever he comes back from international break, it's like a different man. And so far, he looks like he's
fine.
back at it again. He's back to being Pedro. So I hope that he keeps that up because we need that from him. We need him to play like the second highest paid goalkeeper in the league. But yeah,
realistically, I think our defense has also been better in the past few games, and that helps a goalkeeper a lot.
And maybe that's because of the fact that we've been playing Schlegel, Bracalo, and Janssen all on the field together. Mm-hmm. They're better defensive players than, having Santos on the wing. He's a defender technically, but he's also a defensive liability a lot of the time. So
yes.
Oh, well, we talked about the impact of Roger's red card. Hopefully that opens some windows for Bracalo to get in. I think we'd all like to see that. I think we're also all kind of hoping that, maybe Santos can be good. Maybe we could see something more out of Enrique over Angulo, or maybe Angulo can, just get his groove back, something like that. We'd love to see that. But realistically, because I think that's what my real frustration with Angulo is. If you take a look at the player profiles this year, you guys all know that I'm a roster rules and salary cap nerd. If you take a look at the roster profile this year, Angulo is listed as a TAM player, and
that's crazy.
If he's technically a TAM player, which maybe it's because of the salary fee that we paid for him, or maybe his salary went up this year, or whatever it is, the production that we're getting out of him from a TAM level player is just unacceptable. It's got to be better than what he's doing. So that brings us to Montreal this weekend. We are going to be in Canada. I believe Montreal is in Quebec. It is probably going to be cold. I don't know what the weather looks like up there. But what are your thoughts on this game? Thoughts on the matchup? And what's your prediction for the game, Adam?
I think Dron's going to have to help everyone find the stadium because I'm pretty sure all the signs are in French up there.
Probably.
So I don't know if they'll even get there. They might get lost. Is it still like cold up there? Do they get warm?
The forecast for Montreal right now for Saturday is high of 56, low of 42, 75% chance of rain.
Oh, well, we don't lose in the rain, so that's good.
We don't lose in the rain, but playing in the rain and the cold is going to be miserable.
Yeah, that's going to suck. So the answer to the question, is it a must-win? No. There's no such thing as a must-win this early in the season. Is it a little concerning if we don't win? Yeah. Either if we can't score or if we're giving up a bunch of goals, both of those would be concerning against Montreal, just given the state of their roster and their form right now. I'm going to predict if Atuesta plays 3-1, I think. It feels like a get-right game a little bit.
3-1, you said?
I think 3-1. We lose, obviously. No.
Oh.
I think 3-1 win. No, if Atuesta plays and we can get back to the hyper-progressive midfield, especially if Atuesta and Araujo can play, I just think our midfield boss is theirs, and that's kind of the game right there. If we can bypass their midfield and just feed Muriel, Ojeda, and Pasalic, then they're not really stopping much of anything at the moment. So that would be kind of how I see that going.
I mean, I could see that as very possible. Man, I'm trying to. Eddie asked a question. I'm trying to find out the information for him. Let me go to Next Pro because I think that's where he's at. He asked, "Where is Kaczewski now?" Let's see, MLS. What stupid Apple giving me notifications? I'm busy. Oh, that's right. It's not.
He plays for Ventura County FC,
that's what I was looking for.
Second team for LA Galaxy.
Yep, that's where he's at. He's at the second team with the LA Galaxy. I didn't see if he's actually playing games for them yet. But yeah, no, he looks like he is starting central midfielder for them. So he's with the LA Galaxy 2 team, which is now Ventura. I couldn't remember what their name. I was trying to find Galaxy 2.
That's about his level.
It is. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that's where he's at now. So
I could see him being an MLS player later in his career.
I gotcha. Definitely. So feel free to give us your predictions. We'll put them up on the screen as well for this game. Adam, did you give me who your goal scorers were? I was distracted.
Oh, goal scorers. Let's see. Pasalic got to get on one. I'm hoping they got a plan for Duncan. I'm gonna say Duncan gets the third. Pasalic is gonna get the second, and Alex Freeman is gonna get the first. I'm just feeling it. I don't know.
All right. I mean, I'd love to see it.
I feel like it's gonna be one of those we try and pin them back games. If it's raining hard, maybe not. Maybe it'll be more of like a 2-1 or 1-0. But if there's decent conditions, I think this is going to be a game where it's a get right game. It's an inferior opponent where you've kind of been frustrated the last few games, but you haven't necessarily been in bad form, and you're just going to take it out on some poor sucker.
Now, my second question for you: you said this isn't a must-win because it's early in the season. Montreal being a bad team, if this game was at home, would you say that it's a must-win game?
No, that's just on principle.
Okay. I disagree.
Must win is tough. Like must win is like, to me, must win is if we lose, all hope is lost. We've come back from so much worse than a loss away to Montreal. You know,
literally last season.
Exactly.
Last two seasons.
I mean, dude, after we lost to Charlotte in the Open Cup, I think that was an all-time low for my confidence in this regime, and we came back. This would be so much better than that.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, for me, the way that I look at a must-win is I think if you're playing a team that is inferior and is struggling in pretty much all facets of the game, you should punish that. So for me, that ends up falling into a must-win category because of the fact that it's one of those things that, you know, a team that's got 2 points on the season.
It's definitely concerning if we don't win.
Exactly. So
I would even be concerned if we if it's decent conditions and we poppy special them, I'm still a little concerned.
So my prediction is if the weather is crappy, I'm going to go with a 4-2 game. We win. If the field is in good shape and it's not raining, I'm going to say a 2-0 win for us. And that's just because of the fact that I feel like what it's going to come down to is, you know, I'm a big proponent, especially of playing in bad weather conditions. Pepper the net. It doesn't matter. Take shots. Because goalies are with wet gloves are always going to have a difficult time. You should always be making sure that you're getting shots on frame. So that's why I say if it's rainy, we're probably going to have issues where they're going to shoot on us and they might score. So that's why I say 4-2. But a guy like Pasalic is going to take plenty of shots. So I'm going to say 2 goals for Pasalic, let's go 1 for Ojeda and 1 for Duncan, just because of the fact that I feel like he needs one. And if it's the conditions are clear and not that bad, 2-0 win, I'm going to still go Pasalic and Duncan. I think that's what's going to happen.
So I have a question for you related to the weather. So let's say it's raining.
I am a known meteorologist, so go for it.
Okay, yes. Well, related to playing soccer in the weather, let me put it like that.
Yeah.
Plenty games in the rain. The way I look at it for how we play is the attack is very technical, and they try and kind of pass their way, tiki-taka their way into the final third a little bit, especially Montreal to Ojeda to Pasalic, and especially that Tuesta getting in there too. So lots of little combo plays. Does that not become a little harder with a slippery surface and a wet ball, and that's less likely to come off for us? Which, of course, the flip side of that is it's more likely to bounce off a defender and right into Pasalic's lap.
Yeah, so when it comes to weather, what's really going to be the factor is pitch drainage. So if their field has good drainage, realistically, the ball is just going to will move faster. If the field has terrible drainage, which I don't recall how Stade Saputo is set up, if they have terrible drainage, then realistically the ball is not going to move well. It's pretty much as simple as that. So if the field drains well, it'll be slick, ball will move quicker. If the field drains poorly, it'll be flooded, ball will get stuck at times.
I feel like either of those kind of messes with our timing though.
It 100% can, but at the same time, you also got to take a look at like how we get ready for games here. Even if it's raining, we're watering the field at halftime. The field gets watered immensely right before the game. We like playing on a slick surface. So I feel like the slick surface will still be all right for us. It's more so if it's a waterlogged surface that we're going to struggle. So
that's true.
So that's my view on it. And that's an episode for the most part.
Cool.
We close out here. Time to talk some shout outs. So Adam,
Shout outs. I've definitely
give me your shout out today.
This the entire episode, in that I definitely haven't forgotten about it because we've been just.
I gave you a warning before we started recording too. Like I tried to help out.
You did. All right.
I mean, Cleon started to ban me from talking about the New York sports teams that I follow. So like I can't talk about the NFL draft.
But I can.
Yeah, I mean, talk about the worst team in football. Sure, go for it.
Oh yeah, let's go Cowboys. Shout out to the NFL draft, one of my favorite days of the year coming up in 9 days, I think. Yeah, 9 days. I'm excited for that. I'm gonna do a shout out to. Do you remember the Zoom draft in COVID? That was one of my favorite. Cowboys drafted CeeDee Lamb. That was one of my favorite drafts of all time. I mean,
everyone remembers the CeeDee Lamb moment where the phone gets snatched. He snatches the phone.
Yes. So I was watching that on a video call with some of my friends, and I'm a hardcore draft nerd. Like half of my timeline right now is just like not just Cowboys drafting guys, like just hardcore scouts. And I was like, there's no CeeDee Lamb was like block on top 10 pick, and Cowboys drafted 17, and he gets to like 13, and I'm like looking at the teams above us. I'm like, who needs a receiver? I'm like, so there was Atlanta and there was Denver. Denver took Jerry Jeudy. I'm like, oh, he just needs to get past Atlanta. Atlanta takes AJ Terrell, good player by the way, but like nowhere near the prospect CeeDee Lamb was. I'm like, holy shit! I screamed in my house with my family who was also home because of COVID lockdown. I'm like, yes! Just like running laps around my house. It was great. But yeah, I love the NFL draft. So shout out to the NFL draft. Shout out to the rest of the Lions Den guys for not being here so I could take all of your spots. Clearly, I've done so much. No, I love you guys, and I hope you're all doing well. And, hopefully everyone can be back next week. But thanks for having me on. So shout out to Lions Den. Shout out to the NFL draft in general. Draft season is one of my favorite things in sports. So very excited about that.
No, same. Absolutely. And I shout out to my buddy Pat. He has a podcast called Going For It. He likes me because I watch college football and he doesn't. So he likes to have me talk with him about draft and whatnot. So I did a mock draft with him and it was super fun. So shout out to my buddy Pat. Love you, dude. Hopefully we make more football content throughout this year because we are both very sad and depressed Giants fans. Sorry, Cleon, I'm going to talk about it while you're not here. What's up?
Get ready to speak Abdul Carter, buddy.
I will gladly speak Abdul Carter. He's my number one player in this draft. I'm excited about that.
He's my two. I got Travis Hunter for him.
I was gonna say we screwed up on letting you guys get Micah Parsons when we totally could have just taken him ourselves. So we need to get the closest thing possible to a new Micah Parsons. So.
Yeah, he's basically slightly bigger Micah Parsons.
Yeah, which is fine. I will take that. And then the other shout out I'm gonna do is guys, we are so close right now to U.S. Open Cup season. U.S. Open Cup is going on tonight. The round of 32 draw, which is where Orlando City enters, is on the 17th, 9:15 a.m. on the Golazo Network. So if you got Paramount Plus, you can easily watch it there. I think Golazo Network's honestly free with everything, even if you don't have Paramount Plus. But
I love
U.S. Open. Yeah, U.S. Open Cup draw is here. I don't know who we have a probability of playing right now. I'm going to try and take a look and see what's while we're finishing
Miami,
the show up.
Tampa, Jacksonville, Atlanta.
Let's see. So let's take a look at because they usually try and keep it regional for the beginning. Yeah. So Louisville City won today. North Carolina FC won today. South Georgia Torment is getting their butts kicked right now by the Charleston Battery. So Charleston Battery is a possibility.
Battery could be in play.
And then tomorrow, FC Naples. Tomorrow, FC Naples, which, as you guys know, if you've been paying attention, Alex Ryder, that's his new local down there since that's where he lives. FC Naples versus the Tampa Bay Rowdies, which, you know, there's a rivalry that supposedly exists there. I'm not sure. They've never won a game, though, so I can't say. And then Indy 11 versus Miami FC. So I could see realistically the teams that make the most sense if they keep it regional. We could be playing FC Naples, Tampa Bay Rowdies, or Miami FC. But I'd also say North Carolina, Louisville City, and potentially Charleston Battery. Also teams that we could potentially be playing.
I think another Rowdies game would be fun.
I think so. especially if we end up getting to host it. If not, if we all get to go down to Al Lang, or if you guys all get to go down to Al Lang Stadium, I won't be able to go. But
yeah,
cover them in some purple. I think that'd be fun. So
the when we played Rowdies in the Open Cup, I was in the wall in that game. That was the loudest the wall has been. Obviously, it was louder versus as we progressed in the Open Cup, but that was since we hadn't had success in a while, that was the loudest the wall had been in a very long time. Was that Rowdies game? I feel like that was we had some success in the COVID era, but that was the first time where it was like, oh, this team is fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
That was just a really fun experience to have as a fan. So
yeah, and that was also like a half full stadium too, because that was the game that they were originally planning on doing it at Osceola Heritage Park, and then there was a lot of complaints of people that wanted it at the stadium, and unfortunately the turnout wasn't amazing, but it was someone who was there for that game. Yeah. It was a fun game to be at.
They didn't open up half the stadium until I think the Red Bulls match.
Yeah. That's true, which that was also a very fun match in that game.
Yes.
So, but yeah, so shout out the Open Cup. I think that's April 17th. That's Thursday morning, 9:15 a.m. is when they're going to be doing that. That's my call to make sure that I don't have any work meetings, so that way I can watch that. That is right. Granted, I'm in Mountain Time now, so realistically, it's going to start before I start work. So got to get on early. But that's a show. That's an episode. Thank you, Adam, for being here and joining us today on the Orlando Lions Den. Let's go get a W up in Canada. Vamos, Orlando. We love you guys, and we will see you
a W
next time. Yes, we're going to eat a W, Jameis Winston style.
Jameis Winston.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Orlando Lions Den podcast. Don't forget to follow us at Orlando Lions Den on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next week in the Den.